Everyone, welcome to the Policy Committee meeting on Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. A few housekeeping items before we begin. Another reminder, this meeting is being recorded on Teams and the recording will be posted on the HCDSB's website. Please everyone take the time now to mute your laptops and use the boardroom microphones when it is your turn to speak. If you are participating via Teams this evening, please keep your microphone muted and camera off when not speaking. Also, please use the raise hand function in Teams when you would like to speak and then lower your hand when your turn is over. I kindly request now that the land acknowledgement be played.
Halton, as we know it today,
is rich in the history and modern traditions
of many First Nations and the Métis.
From the lands of the Anishinaabe
to the Attawandaron,
the Haudenosaunee,
and the Métis. These lands surrounding the Great Lake
are steeped in Indigenous history.
As we gather today
on these treaty lands,
our Catholic social teachings
call us in solidarity
with our Indigenous brothers and sisters
to honor and respect
4 directions: lands, waters, plants, animals, and ancestors
that walked before us.
All of these wonderful elements of creation exist,
gifted to us by our Creator God. We acknowledge and thank
the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation
for being stewards of this traditional territory.
Thank you very much. Let us begin our meeting with an opening prayer by Trustee Murphy.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. As we are in the month of June, dedicated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, I'd like to share this daily devotion. Is that me? Could be my phone. O most holy heart of Jesus, fountain of every blessing, I adore you, I love you, and with lively sorrow for my sins, I offer you this poor heart of mine. Make me humble, patient, pure, and wholly obedient to your will. Grant, good Jesus, that I may live in you and for you. Protect me in the midst of danger. Comfort me in my afflictions. Give me health of body, assistance in my temporal needs, your blessing on all that I do, and the grace of a holy death. Amen. And we'll say the Lord's Prayer, correct? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
Thank you, Trustee Murphy. Okay, we're moving on to item number 2, which is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, may I please have a mover to approve?
Duarte.
Trustee Duarte, thank you. May I please have a seconder? Trustee Powell, thank you. All are in favor? I see. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Moving on to item number 3, which are declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare this evening from anyone? Nope, seeing none, we will move on. We are moving on to item number 4. There are no delegations this evening. Moving on to item number 5, approval of the minutes. Are there any errors, additions, or deletions to the minutes of the May 14th, 2024 Policy Committee meeting? Okay, seeing none, may I please have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 14th, 2024 Policy Committee meeting? Trustee Powell, thank you very much. May I please have a seconder?
I'll second it.
McGuire? Oh, Murphy, sorry. I meant to say that. Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Perfect. The motion passes and the minutes are approved. Moving on to item number 6, which are action items. We're going to start with item number 6.1, policy I-11, international student admission requirements, fee paying students. Trustees, can I please have someone move that the policy committee recommends that policy I-11, international students admission requirements, fee paying students, be forwarded along with the amendments to the June 18, 2024 regular board meeting for approval. May I please have a mover?
Duarte.
Trustee Saunders beat you. Trustee Duarte, second. Superintendent Cordero, you now have the floor.
Yeah, so the policy has some changes in terms of procedures to align with our current reality in terms of the program, ensuring that growth is smart growth in our system and that different stakeholders and different departments, primarily the planning department, is fully alive in the decision making and the processes by which we accept, welcome, and include international students in our schools. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Cordero. Trustees, I'll now open the floor to any questions. Okay, seeing none. I will now take it to a recorded vote of the main motion. Trustee Duarte.
In favor?
Trustee Carabella.
In favor.
Trustee Kelly.
In favor.
Thank you. Trustee Kennedy.
In favor.
Trustee Murphy.
In favor.
Trustee Powell.
In favor.
Trustee Saunders.
Favor.
Trustee McGuire.
In favor.
I don't think Trustee Chua or Trustee Deepu are online. Trustee Deepu? No. And I am in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in favor. So the policy will be brought forward. It passes to the June 18, 2024 regular board meeting. Thank you, everyone. Okay, moving on to item 6.2. The next item on our agenda is policy I-14, smoking-vaping ban. Trustees, can I please have someone move, excuse me, that the policy committee recommends that policy I-14, smoking/vaping ban be forwarded along with amendments to the June 18, 2024 regular board meeting for approval. May I please have a mover?
Duarte.
Trustee Powell beat you. Trustee Duarte? Superintendent Begait, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Policy I-14 smoking vaping ban was last reviewed in November 2021 as being brought to the Policy Committee for review following the recent updates to PPM 128, the Provincial Code of Conduct, and School Board Codes of Conduct. The references have been added and updated, and minor housekeeping changes have been made. And the revised policy is before the Policy Committee. Happy to answer any questions that trustees may have.
Thank you, Superintendent Begait. Trustees, I will now open to the floor. Any questions? Okay. Oh, there. Okay, Trustee Duarte.
Just a question here. We have updated this policy with the PPM here. How have you gone about the background work with the schools and the implementation part of it? Has that been taken care of?
Thank you, Trustee Duarte. Through you, Director Klein.
Superintendent Begait, who's ready to go.
Thank you. Thanks for the question, Trustee Duarte. So this policy has been in place, as you know, and is quite a robust policy as it is in compliance with the Smoke-Free Ontario Act 2017. So largely it has not changed except for, and if you had a chance to review the PPM, it's consistent with what is currently in the PPM. So this is a policy that is most often reviewed at the beginning of the school year and as needed with admin and admin follow through with notifying students, codes of conduct, etc.
Thank you. Any follow-up,
No,
trustee
thank you.
Dwyer? Nothing. Okay, we have another hand, trustee Carabella.
Thank you through you, Mrs. Chair. Under principles, I was wondering if we're missing the word vaping when we say evidence, the second line there of the first paragraph, evidence to support significant health risks as a result of smoking/vaping and for non-members.
Thank you, trustee Carabella. Over to you, Superintendent Bakaj.
Thank you, trustee Kara, but the intention of the word smoking includes vaping because
vape smoking.
yeah.
Okay, and then to follow up, I had another question down at the under requirements, the second last bullet, in ensuring that a person who does not comply with the act does not remain on the property. So if it's an adult, I guess they would get escorted off if they refuse to stop smoking or vaping. And if it's a student, they would then be disciplined under. Has this ever happened?
Thank you, trustee Carabella. Superintendent Bakaj.
So that's twofold. You are correct, trustee Carabella. And we do discuss the consequences of vaping further in II-28, the policy that comes up. So yes, to answer your question about does vaping occur in the schools, it does.
Thank you very much. Trustee Kennedy.
I have a question through you, Madam Chair. How do we, are we able to enforce like the 20-meter, I guess, distance from the edge of the school property? Like, is that allowed through, I guess, through like city bylaws or? You know,
Thank you, trustee
municipal
Kennedy.
bylaw?
To you, Superintendent Bakaj.
Thank you, trustee Kenny, for the question. It is through bylaws, but also through this act. It's enforced.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up, trustee Kennedy?
So what if it's not a parent or a student, we really can't. It really only applies to parent or students, it says, or staff.
Thank you, trustee Kennedy. Superintendent Bakaj.
It would apply to visitors as well. Anybody really coming within 20 meters of the property. Frankly, it doesn't occur very much anymore. Cigarette smoke. Vaping is a little different with students and some adults. And we can address it further in I-28, but it does get enforced.
Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any new trustees with hands up, so I think we will move on to the vote on the main motion. Trustee McGuire.
In favor.
Trustee Saunders.
Favor.
Trustee Powell.
In favor.
Trustee Murphy.
In favor.
Trustee Kennedy.
In favor.
Trustee Kelly.
In favor.
Thank you. Trustee Carabella.
In favor.
Trustee Duarte.
In favor.
And I am also in favor, so 9 in favor. The main motion will pass. The policy will be brought forward to the June 18, 2024 regular board meeting. Thank you, everyone. Moving on. So the next item on our agenda is item 6.3, which is policy I-23, Catholic School Councils and Catholic Parent Involvement Committee. Trustees, could I please have someone move that the policy committee recommends that I-23, Catholic School Councils and Catholic Parent Involvement Committee be forwarded along with amendments to the June 18, 2024 regular board meeting for approval. May I please have a mover?
Duarte.
Trustee Duarte, a seconder, please. Trustee Powell, thank you very much. Superintendent D'Onofrio, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Policy I-23, Catholic School Councils and Catholic Parent Involvement Committee was reviewed as part of the regular policy review cycle. Apart from minor housekeeping changes have been made throughout, no other changes are required. The revised policy I-23, Catholic School Councils and Catholic Parent Involvement Committee is attached for review and consideration by the Policy Committee.
Thank you very much, Superintendent D'Onofrio. Trustees, I will now open the floor if anyone has any questions. I do see Trustee Carabella, but is that from the last? Oh, there, I don't see it anymore. Okay, I don't see any questions. So if no questions. Oh, okay. Trustee Carabella, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm just wondering, under the parent member, the first, no, the second one, the second bullet, in respect of a Catholic Parent Involvement Committee, a member of the committee who is appointed or elected to the committee in accordance with Section 34 or who fills a vacancy created by a parent member ceasing to hold office. So is that Section 34? Is that part of their bylaws, or what is that Section 34?
Thank you, Trustee Carabella. Superintendent Denolfo.
That's from the Education Act, Section 34.
Thank you. Trustee Carabella, do you have a follow-up?
Does this speak to how they're actually elected, or is that they follow their bylaws on their elections?
Thank you for that question, Trustee Carabella. Superintendent Denolfo.
Through you, Chair. Thank you for the question, Trustee Carabella. Their bylaws have their election process. So at the Catholic Parent Involvement Committee, their bylaws dictate how their election process goes. At the Catholic school councils of each school, there is a guideline just about from the Ministry of Education that it has to happen within the first 30 days of the school year.
Thank you, Superintendent Denolfo. Trustee Kennedy, I see you have your hand up.
Through you, Madam Chair. So how is it decided if there's an appointment or an election for CPIC for parent members? And let's say this past year, were there appointments or were there elections?
Thank you, Trustee Kennedy. Superintendent Denolfo.
Thank you for the question, Trustee Kennedy. It was all elected officials that were elected through the Catholic school councils to CPIC. If you're talking about CPIC in particular? Yeah, it's all through the Catholic school councils. Nominations come in, it's Catholic school councils who do the voting. So every school has a vote.
Thank you, Superintendent Denolfo. So I'll move on. Superintendent, oh my gosh, Trustee Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. I'm just looking to see where the related procedure would normally be listed in information items relating back to this policy update for the CPIC policy. Is there a reason why it's not in there? Or I'm just trying to understand, because I see like there is information items for the other policies we're discussing this evening.
Thank you, Trustee Murphy. Over to Superintendent Bakaich.
I can start and then I can defer to Superintendent Denolfo. The associated procedure is VI 84. And VI 84 is not up for review until next year, I believe.
Thank you, Superintendent Bakaich. Superintendent Denolfo, anything else to add? No. Steve Murphy, do you have a follow-up?
Okay, so is it typical, and just enlighten me because I don't know this, so excuse my ignorance, but is it typical for a policy and the related procedures to be updated with such a big time gap in between?
Thank you, Trustee Murphy. Maybe some clarification, Superintendent Bakaich or Superintendent Denolfo? Superintendent Denolfo.
Through you, Chair. Trustee Murphy, when we reviewed the procedure last time, which was in March 2022 when we approved it, that's what took it out of the review cycle, and it was where we had changed the makeup of the Catholic School Council. It was specifically around the percentage of parents on the council being Catholic or non-Catholic. Okay. And so we're keeping it to the same cycle, so it's not up for review until next year.
Thank you, Superintendent. So we, yeah, I remember that. We pulled it out of cycle for the policy, but we didn't do anything to the procedure at the time, so that's why it's a different cycle. Okay. Trustee Carabella, I see you have your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just in the last bullet, I don't know if there's some punctuation. I think the chair, the board, and director of education need to be capitalized in keeping with the rest of the policy.
Thank you, Trustee Carabella. Superintendent Denolfo.
Just the first sentence of the last bullet.
Chair.
Oh, okay. Superintendent Bakaich.
I can take that one, Superintendent. It's because this, Trustee Carabella, this language comes directly from the Act. And so typically it's more generic in, although it applies to the board.
And the follow-up question is, do we do that where it says here, the CPIC shall annually submit a written summary of the committee's activities to the chair of the board and to the board's director of education. So I don't recall we get that at our board meeting, or do we ever get that?
Thank you, Trustee Carabella, for clarification. Superintendent Dinolfo?
Thank you for the question, Trustee Caravella. We have done an annual report. I believe I shared it last June or in September with the Board of Trustees, and we're preparing it right now. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Murphy? No? Trustee Caravella? I think we're good, right? Okay. Okay, good conversation. So I'm going to move on, seeing no questions. So let's bring this to a vote on the main motion, policy I-23. So Trustee Caravella.
In favor?
Trustee Kennedy.
In favor.
Trustee Kelly. Trustee Kelly? Oh, Trustee Kelly, I saw you come up. Oh. I can see Trustee Kelly off mute, but I can't hear her. There's something going on with the static. Does someone have their phone? Everyone check their phones if it's too close to, it's not me. Okay, I'm going to carry on. She's leaving. We'll give her a minute. We'll come back to her. Trustee Duarte?
In favor.
Oh, there's Trustee Kelly.
In favor, sorry.
That's okay, no worries. And Trustee Duarte, you were in favor, right? If I heard you correctly? Trustee Murphy?
In favor.
Perfect. Trustee Powell?
In favor.
Trustee Saunders?
Favor.
Thank you. Trustee McGuire?
In favor.
And I am also in favor. So 9 in favor, or 8 in favor, 9 in favor. Okay, so this is passing. The policy will be brought forward to the June 18, 2024 regular board meeting. All right. So item 6.4. The next item on our agenda is policy I-43, the use of technology and digital citizenship. Trustees, can I please have someone move that the policy committee recommends that policy I-43 be forwarded along with the amendments to the June 18, 2024 regular board meeting for approval? May I please have a mover?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Trustee Murphy, correct. May I please have a seconder?
I can second.
Trustee Duarte, thank you. Superintendent Bakait, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Trustees, policy I-43, use of technology and digital citizenship, was last amended in February 2022 and is being brought before the policy committee for review following the recent updates to PPM 128, the provincial code of conduct, and the school board codes of conduct. The policy has been updated throughout to better align with current practice and in accordance with changes outlined in the PPM. Updates have been made to the application and scope, definitions, and principles. The requirements have been updated in accordance with changes outlined in PPM 128 regarding the use of personal mobile devices, technology. You'll notice the language is cell phone, use of social media. Included are also updates to HCDSB requirements for privacy, cybersecurity, information technology, and the use of digital tools. Minor housekeeping changes have been made throughout. The policy was and the associated procedure were reviewed by a number of departments, including myself, Safe Schools, Superintendent Cordero, Superintendent Kroll from Curriculum, also Privacy and RT Department. And so we've had a number of eyes on this policy and associated procedure. My recommendation, staff recommends that the policy and the procedure, due to the changes that are significant and updates to what our practice has been, be referred to stakeholder feedback. As in the PPM, it does require that input and feedback from stakeholders, parents, students, staff, CPIC members, SEAC members. So releasing it for stakeholder feedback will allow that opportunity for the various stakeholders to have input. And happy to take any questions that trustees may have.
Thank you, Superintendent Bakait. Trustees, I will now open the floor if anyone has any questions in regards to this policy. Trustee Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And through you, I'm just wondering now with the stakeholder feedback, with it going out for stakeholder feedback, what does that timeline look like? And then do we revisit the policy again based on the feedback? I just want to know what that looks like.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Great question, Trustee
Certainly,
Murphy.
yeah.
To Superintendent Bakich.
Yeah, so certainly. So if trustees are in agreement, Andrea Swindon will prepare that, the policy and the procedure to go out to stakeholder feedback, probably within today or tomorrow. Or tomorrow. We're not gonna do it tonight. Sorry, Andrea. It'll go out for, will it be 3 weeks? Thank you. And because it is, it's fairly timely, we'll still have, enough interest in reviewing it. And then what will happen is we'll prepare a report for trustees and bring it back to the policy committee in September with the revisions and the feedback from stakeholders.
Thank you. Trustee Murphy, do you have a follow-up to that?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I don't see anyone in the room. Is anyone opposed to sending this out for stakeholder feedback? Seeing none. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's move this. Oh, yes, she does. Thank you. Trustee Carabella.
Thank you. I think I just missed what, so we're waiting till we get the stakeholder feedback, or are we voting on this tonight?
So we have an option to not send it out for stakeholder feedback and it go to the board. We would review it here. However, given the fact that it is directed in the PPM to have it go out, and I think just for parents and students especially, although the practice is relatively the same because in our policy and procedure, we have always required, for an example, that it be with educator permission that students use mobile devices, et cetera, in the classroom. There's specific language even further to that. And there's specific language about social media use, all consistent with the requirements in the PPM. So that's what we would recommend, Trustee Carabella, is for it to go out.
Thank you for that clarification, Superintendent Bakich. So we're really not voting on the actual main motion tonight? No. If we have agreement and we're all in favor, we can just move on to the feedback and then bring it back on September the 10th, God willing. Okay.
Are we noting that they're in favor?
We're noting that everyone's in favor. No one's opposed to this. Okay. Okay, everyone, we're moving on to 6.5. The next item on our agenda is policy II-28, alcohol, tobacco, vaping, and drug education and abuse in schools. Trustees, can I please have someone move that the policy committee recommends that policy II-28, alcohol, tobacco, vaping, and drug education and abuse in schools be forwarded along with the amendments to the June 18, 2024 regular board meeting for approval. May I have a mover on the left side?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Trustee Murphy. May I have a seconder on the right side? Thank you, Trustee Powell. Balanced. Superintendent Bakich, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So this again is a policy that we have brought before Policy Committee due to the changes and updates to PPM 128. Again, this is a policy that has been in good standing in our board. I have updated the references to include PPM 128 and to update the other references that we have so that they're current. Also, I did make some housekeeping changes. You'll notice in the purpose that there is some redlining. That language has been moved to the principles section because it fit more consistently there. And I did add the word requirements because that section was actually requirements but didn't have the title of requirements. And happy to take any questions that trustees may have.
Thank you, Superintendent Bakich. Trustee Carabella, I bring this to the floor for any questions. I see Trustee Carabella and then Trustee McGuire.
I'm sorry, I had my hand up. I will have a question later.
Perfect. I'll put you on hold. Trustee McGuire?
Yeah, thank you through you, Chair. This question, I was just kind of looking at the references on this policy, and I noticed that we didn't have any references to the health and phys ed curriculum that would cover this sort of education. Is that something that we would include in there, or we wouldn't? Just wanted to see.
Good question. Trustee McGuire, Superintendent Bakich?
That's a good question, Trustee McGuire. We wouldn't typically include curriculum documents in the references, although it's a good point. They are actually used, as you probably well know, in the instructional and educational component, as well as additional, we do have good community partnerships with Halton Public Health, and we do provide educational professional learning for our staff. We actually recently just had one in May on vaping and substance use and abuse.
Thank you, Superintendent Bakich. Trustee McGuire, do you have a follow-up?
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem. My pleasure. Trustee Carabella.
I will ask then, just I'm reading this section here, how vaping and will not be tolerated. So how is the situation at the schools with vaping, and how are we deterring it? Because I think there's issues with in the bathrooms, and how is that working with is there smart sensors and things like that to address it?
Thank you for the question, Trustee Carabella. Superintendent Bakich.
Thank you, Trustee Carabella. I can start. So definitely vaping does occur in the schools. There are consequences provided to students who are using an active vape so that they're actually smoking, etc. We try and focus on educating students, and often, depending on the grade, students will, especially students coming into secondary, they'll try it because they can, and it's something that unfortunately is promoted through vendors. Certainly the school does a lot to deter that by way of education, but also outlining the consequences early in the school year through code of conduct, assemblies, through literature that goes home to the schools. And sorry, Trustee Carabelle, did I answer your question or did you have more?
One was about just the situation in the washrooms.
Yeah, thank you. So they do occur in the washrooms. The ministry has noted in the PPM and in their literature that they are going to provide funding for vape detectors. And I'm not sure if we've actually received the funding or not. I look over to our Chief Financial Officer.
That's for next year, and it's not just for vaping, right? It's for a wide number of items. Vaping, those sensors being one of them. So it's for all the cameras we have in our schools. Like, I want to make sure that it's not vaping funding. It's for a lot of technology uses that we have in our schools. So repairing our cameras, which are expensive as well. So I don't know if that helps, but that's for next year, everyone, for 24-25.
Thank you, Superintendent Lobbs.
In the meantime, Trustee Carabelle, staff do active supervision. In secondary, we have the commissionaires. There are a lot of eyes on as much as possible, but students, as you know, will find a way if they really want to. We do enlist also the support of parents. Sometimes parents know or they don't know that their children are vaping. So a lot of that has to do with good communication between the administration and parents, who are, by and large, are very supportive. And then we use a progressive discipline model for consequences.
Thank you, Trustee Carabella. I don't see any other questions, so let's move the main motion to a vote, shall we? Trustee Powell. In favor. Trustee Saunders.
In favor.
Trustee McGuire.
In favor.
Trustee Murphy.
In favor.
Trustee Kelly.
In favor.
Thank you. Trustee Kennedy.
In favor.
Trustee Carabella.
In favor.
Trustee Duarte.
In favor.
And I'm also in favor. This motion passes, and the policy will be brought forward to the June 18th, 2024 regular board meeting. Okay, moving on. We are now on, the next item on our agenda is item 6.6, which is policy II-29, inclusion and range of placement options. Trustees, can I please have someone move that the policy committee recommends that policy II-29, inclusion and range of placement options for identified exceptional students, be forwarded along with the amendments, any amendments to the June 18, 2024 regular board meeting for approval. May I have a mover from the right side?
Duarte.
Trustee Duarte. May I have a seconder? That was Trustee Powell, right? Thank you. the right side of the table. Okay, so Superintendent Jack Caldero, you now have the floor.
Through you, Chair. Policy II-29, inclusion and range of placement options for identified exceptional students, was reviewed as part of the regular policy review cycle. The policy was reviewed by staff and in consultation with SEAC members at the May 27th, 2024 Special Education Advisory Committee, SEAC meeting. References have been updated. Definitions have been added and updated based on some stakeholder feedback. Minor housekeeping changes have been made throughout. And the revised policy II-29, inclusion and range of placement options for identified exceptional students, is attached for review and consideration by the policy committee.
Thank you, Superintendent Jack Caldera. I will now open it to the floor if anyone has any questions on this policy. Trustee Carabella.
Thank you. Regarding the word student and pupil, so I've been noticing sometimes it's scratched out or crossed out with the word student, but here it's left. So I'm just wondering what is the reasoning behind which ones we leave, or are they all should be changed to student? Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Carabella. Superintendent Jack Caldera.
Thank you, through you, Chair. The definitions are extracted from ministry language, and they refer to people, and consistent with our other policies and other language, we do use students and pupils, I guess, interchangeably. So if it's the will of the group to use one, that's not an issue that can be accommodated.
Thank you.
With the preference be pupil or student, I'm not sure.
Thank you. Superintendent Bakaich.
Sure, I can add, Chair. Again, this is that situation where if it's lifted directly out of the Act will use pupil. So it's not to confuse, but where it's more specific to the board and the student, we will change it to student. But it is, it's kind of, when we're actually quoting Trustee Carabella the Act, so we don't want to alter the language.
Thank you, Trustee Carabella and Superintendent Bakaich. I guess we have to go to the ministry to get them to change their language first. All right, okay, push the try. Okay, I don't see any other questions. We're now going to take this main motion to a recorded vote. Trustee Duarte.
In favor.
Trustee Carabella.
In favor.
Trustee Kelly.
In favor.
You, Trustee Kennedy.
In favor.
Trustee Murphy.
In favor.
Trustee Powell.
In favor.
Trustee Saunders.
Favor.
Trustee McGuire.
In favor.
I am also in favor. This motion passes, and this policy will be brought forward to the June 18, 2024 regular board meeting. Thank you, everyone. Okay, moving down the agenda, we're now on item 7, which is entitled Discussion Items. We do not have any discussions items this evening. Item number 8, information items. So we have items 8.1 to 8.3. They're all administrative procedures, and they're provided for our information. And they were already approved at the June 3rd, 2024 Senior Administrative Meeting. Item 8.4, Policy Summary Report, provides an overview of the policies that were reviewed by the 2023-2024 Policy Committee up until May 14th, 2024. So good job, everybody. How many policies are there? 73?
Thanks, Chair. Including June would be, I believe, 72 policies and procedures for the year. So we're
well done, everyone.
I just want to say thank you to the committee because I know it's a lot of work and a lot of study. So thank you. We really appreciate it.
And thank you to you, Superintendent Bakaich. Okay, so moving on to item number 9, miscellaneous information. We don't have any miscellaneous information this evening. Correspondence, I don't have anything as far as correspondence. If anyone else has something, let me know. I don't think we do. In camera, we don't have anything that we need to go in camera for this evening. So motion to excuse absent committee members. So we need to excuse Trustee Agnew, Trustee Chua, and Trustee Deepu. May I please have a mover? Trustee Powell, could I please get a seconder?
What?
Oh, Carabella, thank you. Okay, so that all are we good? That trustees Agnew, Deepu and Chua be excused for tonight's policy meeting. All in favor? Anyone opposed? No one's opposed, so that passes. May I please have a motion to adjourn? Item number 13 with his adjournment and closing prayer. Trustee Saunders? May I please have a seconder? Carabella? All in favor? Is anyone opposed? Thank you. I will now end the meeting with a closing prayer. So let's make the sign of our faith. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. We're going to do the Our Father. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Day, daily bread. And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us to evil. Amen. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Thank you, everyone. This is our last policy meeting until the summer, so I wish everyone health and happiness through the summer. And we'll start this again for policy in September the 10th, 2024. Same place, same time. Thank you, everybody.